How to get the most out of your sales calls. In a recent video we did how to get customers as a freight broker, we covered the categories of questions to ask shippers: qualifying, operational, challenge, consequence, and solutions-oriented questions. They're really the roadmap to every prospecting call. But what we haven't discussed is how you effectively get anything out of asking those questions. Stick with us as we dig into the tips and tricks to getting the most out of your sales calls. I'm Benjamin Kowalski with Freight 360, where we provide the latest transportation sales tips and training videos to help you reach your goals faster. When you talk, you are only repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you may learn something new. Dalai Lama. What goes into every prospecting call, or any conversation for that matter? One person speaks, and the other person responds to what was said, right? This is how you establish basic rapport. Well, not entirely. If you're a fan of our channel, you've heard us repeat the old cliche, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them proportionately. And that's exactly what you're going to learn today. The types and the strategies you can use to turn listening into your superpower. And those 2 types we're going to discuss are listening to understand and listening to respond. The majority of new salespeople are just listening to respond. Hell, most of the people we talk to on a daily basis fall into this category from one time to another, right? But what does this really mean, listening to respond? It means that instead of actually paying attention to what somebody is saying to you, you already know what you're going to say next, so you're really just waiting your turn to talk at that person, who very well may be doing the same thing. I've always heard, the greatest problem in communication is the illusion that it's taken place. The best sales calls or conversations that have the most impact are the ones when both parties have the objective to understand each other, sharing facts, opinions, stories, and what they feel about each of them. When you are listening to understand each other rather than just forcing the features of your company down their throat, for instance, we handle FTL, LTL, intermodal, white glove, air, last mile, have the newest software, the best service, and we've been in business the longest. Everyone's been on the other end of that sales pitch, one time or another, right? Well, this is the most common hurdle for brokers and salespeople alike in their first few months on the job. They've never made a cold call maybe before in their life, and they're full of nerves and anxiety, right? Veterans refer to this as the 300-pound phone. We work ourselves up so emotionally that it becomes terrifying to start making your calls every day. And then when you finally get up the courage to make the call, we're wound so tight with anxiety that we're barely paying attention to what's being said to us. And we can't wait until the other person stops talking so we can interject with all the facts and all the features that our company has beaten into our head and that we're really so proud of, right? That's exactly what we're going to work on. So, how can you start developing the habit of listening to understand? How can you get the most out of your sales calls? Well, you do it by becoming a better listener. One that's goal is to understand their prospect and to listen and pick up on the things your customer might not have actually said, but kind of said, right? Are they rushed? Are they frustrated? Are they happy? Are they irritated? These are all emotions that can tell you a lot about your prospect's state of mind. Think about it. How great are you at engaging in a conversation with someone you just met if you were frustrated with something that just happened, right? Or someone, right? How about when you're happy? Which call do you think you should spend a little more time on? And which do you think you should politely exit after a little time and maybe go back and forth, right? These things appear simple, and that's why they're so easy to forget and so often overlooked, right? Especially when you have a dozen or so other things going on around you as a broker. And you're expected to make, dozens of calls every day. It's easy to lose track of these things and just focus on the numbers of calls you're putting up, right? But if you're not applying what you need to get out of the calls, all of them could be a waste of time. So be honest. How many times are you listening to someone and you space out? Thinking about a TV show, maybe your grocery list, the fight you had with your partner the night before. Try these few tips to minimize distractions for yourself. Don't scroll through Instagram or social media or TikTok while you're making your prospecting calls. Or have a browser open that you know you're going to be tempted to scroll through. Don't multitask. And I know this is a difficult one, but it's why we recommend only making your prospecting calls when you are prospecting, not doing lead gen. Do your lead generation separately. The same goes with your emails. If you're working through your emails while you're prospecting, you're not going to engage in a very good conversation when somebody does pick up the phone. Never interrupt the prospect. For one, just because you think you know what they're going to say doesn't mean they will. And you'll be surprised to learn something new just by waiting until they finished whatever they were saying, right? Repeat back to them key points that they've just made, right? So you're having a lot of issues with trucks making their appointments? Oh, about 20 to full truckloads per week? Your other brokers don't ever give you a heads up when their trucks are running late? This technique, it's also referred to as mirroring and is very effective at building trust. A pro tip here, mirroring can also be accomplished by mimicking the rate of speech and emotional tone, speaking faster or slower, and changing your pitch based on what you're hearing, right? Now that you've actually listened to what they've said, you can now respond to their actual needs that you have uncovered, not just responding with what you had originally intended to say. And that is the big difference between someone that is just repeating a sales pitch and somebody that is taking a prospect through a needs analysis, right? The key is in the listening, not the speaking. And that's how to get the most out of your sales calls. For more tips and training, be sure to watch our weekly podcast on our channel and check out the description for links to group and private coaching. Because remember, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right.